Oh, it's time for Captain Cheech and the Shrimp Shack Shooters right here on
Woohoo!
Vital Power. That's right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vinyl Power. That's right, the podcast where we talk about our love for vinyl records and share it with you. Join us each week as we bring you the latest in vinyl releases, what's in our vinyl collection, and wrap it up with epic vinyl. That's right here, each and every week, with your hosts, the Reverend Jeff Kelly and Kurt Harris. Once again, welcome to Vital Power. That's right here on the top 40, Captain Keith and the Shrimp Shack Shooters coming in at number 7 on Vital Power's Top 100. No, actually, I really got to redo that introduction. And hello, everybody. I am the Reverend Jeff Kelly. That man over there is Mr. Kurt, the Music Man Harris, coming to you from North Kakalaka.
That's where I'm at.
It's not snowing in North Kakalaka.
I tell you what, it was the past 3 or 4 days. It was record temperatures. We hit about 80 degrees every day. It's been foggy in the morning, sunny afternoons. Birds are singing, and the rock and roll is playing.
Rock and roll every day, a party every night. Isn't that I want to rock and roll all night. A party every. I had it backwards. I guess we can rock and roll all day and party all night and just forget it. Hi, I'm Rod, and I like to party. No,
hey, I love lamp.
Dude, yeah, I love cake. All right, people. The release calendar this week is kind of small once again. The Screaming Females all at once. Imagine that, dude. If there's a bunch of screaming females all at once on my front door, I might have to go out the back.
I've seen them kind of recently in the streets wearing pink hats, but I didn't know they were putting out a record. I think I'll skip that one.
Oh, come on, man. I just wanted to see what the heck was coming up in March. Is there anything in March? Please tell me there's something. No, that's 2019. Oh, my God. Never mind. Forget it. We'll tell you next week what's starting in March. Holy crap, dude. It's one of them freaking days. My goodness gracious. So, yeah, I definitely got to go through and redo that intro. One, I was sick when I recorded it. If you remembered, it was just after getting through all that hellacious, just deathly illness at that point. Yeah,
you had the flu plus norovirus.
Oh God, it was horrible. But hey, man, what were you doing on you? What were you guys listening to this weekend?
Well, we are Vinyl Power. Our focus is vinyl records. 2-channel, lay the needle on the wax and let it roll. And if it pops and skips a little bit, we don't care because we're going to enjoy it anyways. But every now and then I want to bring something a little different to the table. And this is one of those Thursdays. And the reason is because earlier in the week, we decided a bunch of us were together. And sure, we could have just sat and listened as we normally do to vinyl records, a couple CDs, whatever. But instead, we broke out the live concert discs. And one of the first ones we broke out was 2015 Roger Waters' The Wall. And I do realize that for the most part, it has the full concert of Roger Waters and his band, not Pink Floyd, of course, but the Roger Waters band, playing The Wall. And it's an amazing show. You can imagine. I mean, it's spectacular. For those that have seen it, they know it's a spectacular show. But it's really a documentary because this one really explores the reasons why Roger Waters holds the political views that he holds. Some that I agree with, some that I don't, like with most people, I would imagine. And it shows the fact that the one thing I would say about it is it shows the fact that Roger Waters' father was taken by war before he ever had a chance to know him. And Roger Waters' father, so Roger's grandfather, was taken by war before his father ever had a chance to know him. And he goes to both cemeteries, So there's a bit of a maudlin sort of, a little bit melancholic documentary about this, but it definitely lets you in some of the inside of Roger Waters' inside of his head and what he's about. And the concert itself is just spectacular. The guitar player is Dave Kilmister, who also played for a couple years with Steven Wilson, did an amazing job with Steven, a super nice guy. And just one that you really should miss. It's 2015. And like I said, it's partly a documentary, but it's still really cool. Now, here's another one that a lot of people might not know as much about. I'm trying to make it where it's kind of shiny, not get quite so much on it so you can see it.
Opeth, the Roundhouse, London.
So this is Opeth from 2006, and it's the Roundhouse tapes, and this was recorded at the Camden Roadhouse in London. Now, Opeth is a Swedish metal band, but the singer and writer of a lot of the music, Michael Ackerfeld, he can alternate. I don't really like growling vocals. I'm not a fan of growling vocals. He's the only one that's ever done it that I've appreciated. He has a very, very good singing voice, and he can alternate between some growling, but not screaming growling, which is for me kind of annoying.
Yeah, I can't do anything. I can't do scream metal. I just can't do it.
I can't do it. So this is not that. And the thing about Opeth is they have long, drawn out ambient sections with a lot of beauty, a lot of acoustical, a lot of beauty. And then you get into the metal, and there could be some growling, some very nice vocals. So Opeth's a very interesting band, Swedish metal. This was from the Blackwater Park album tour, and one you shouldn't miss if you want to check something interesting out. And next in line is Dream Theater. And of course, Dream Theater, in my personal, most humble opinion, if you were to say band member by band member, John Petrucci on guitar, John Young on bass, Jordan Rudess on keyboards, if you just to say band member by band member, I think this is the most talented group of musicians on any one band ever. Doesn't mean they're making the best music there's ever been, but the talent level is just simply out of this world. And this is a wonderful disc. This was from the Dramatic Turn of Events tour, which is they lost the guy that basically founded the band, Mike Portnoy, the drummer, moved on. And the drummer they brought in, Mike Mangini. So this is his first tour with the band, Mike Mangini, first album, first tour. Do I like him better than Portnoy? No, but he is spectacular in his own right. He's an amazing drummer. He fits the band basically to perfection. This was recorded in Argentina in what is this, 2012. And is a spectacular disc. You can get this one on Amazon for like, God, it's only like $14 or something, and gives you just like 2 hours of blowout, amazing music. I highly recommend it. Okay, after that, well, we move into what most people know is Kurt Harris's favorite, and that would be Steven Wilson and or Porcupine Tree. Well, this one happens to be the I believe it's the Get All You Deserve. Yes, it is. It's the Get All You Deserve.
That's a tough cover.
You can't see much on it. I realize that. And it was even hard for me to see to make sure I had was holding up the right one.
Hey, I want you to design a cover that can only be seen from 6 inches away by the guy that's actually holding it. How's that sound?
It it comes with a nice booklet, and of course it's Blu-ray, and the picture and sound on this are literally spectacular. Well, this is the first concert DVD of what became the Steven Wilson Band. And this is from 2012, was recorded in Mexico City on the Grace for Drowning tour. And of course, they mostly stick, they put a little bit from his back catalog, but mostly at this point, he was really pushing into his future music, into Steven Wilson, which was a little more jazzy than Porcupine Tree, definitely different, not the same as Porcupine Tree, not as much metal, more jazz influences. And this is, as concert DVDs go, just Blu-rays, spectacular. Anyone that's ever seen it knows what an amazing disc this is. And I will say one thing about this that's really cool. They did something I've never seen before. Steven is very into presentation, like making sure the presentation is different. One thing he does, he actually puts the music out in 5.1 or quad. I'm not sure which one it is, but he puts speakers behind the audience and does at least quadraphonic. So he gives you a presentation which is unusual in a live setting. One other thing that was really cool about this, and maybe one reason that it looks the way it is, and might explain it a little bit, during the first half of the concert, there is a drop down, basically almost see-through, but not quite. There's a drop down curtain in front of the stage between the audience and the band. And so you've got images projected on screens behind the band, which we're used to. We've seen that with many concerts, of course, but they're also able to project images onto that translucent screen in front of the band. And it makes for some really interesting things. At some point, there's a real dramatic moment in the music and the curtain drops and you're finally exposed to the full band. Quite an amazing experience, quite an amazing disc. And one more, and that would be this. Possibly my favorite of all time for concert discs is Anesthetise, and this is Porcupine Tree. This is from Tilburg, Holland. I have a few good friends who were at this show. This is from Tilburg, Holland. This is from 2008 from the Fear of a Blank Planet tour. Porcupine Tree at their very top best. It's like a 2.5-hour concert. It's unbelievable. Inside you get a nice booklet. You get a lot of extras, and they start the concert off by playing the entire Fear of a Blank Planet album from beginning to end, which is a really cool touch when you play, okay, this is our new album. Well, we're just going to play the whole thing for you. And then they finish with quite a bit of different music after that. But Anesthetise, yes, probably my overall favorite concert disc. And again, like I said, 2008, Tilburg, Holland, basically a must see. And so that's what we were doing this week, was getting into the live discs. And I have to ask you, Reverend Jeff and lovely friend, what and we were going to discuss a little bit, the fact of live music. And I know that's part of your presentation today. So I'll say that, there's definitely a difference between listening to studio albums and listening to live albums. And there are times where you just want that extra energy. You want that extra. And if they make a mistake, you don't care. If it doesn't follow the studio version, you don't care. You just want that extra oomph, that extra energy, that little bit of get up and go. And that's one thing I really like about having live albums along with the studio albums. And so I have to ask you, what were you listening to this week, Reverend Jeff?
Oh, well, here, let me introduce my special little friend, rarely seen on camera, Mr. Esteban Pablo. Yes, the ultimate Chihuahua. He's an old guy.
Look
he
at
was
Esteban.
a rescue, just a little guy. There you go, Mr. Esteban Pablo.
I have a rescue Chihuahua as well, so that definitely touches me as well.
Exactly. Well, I was just jamming to a lot of live stuff this week, is what I was doing, and the first one I was jamming to was, Whitesnake. Dude, this album just rocks. There isn't anything about this album that doesn't rock. 1980 live album by the British band Whitesnake, all one word, people. Originally released as a double vinyl album and a double play cassette. It utilizes recordings made in 78 and 80, and the album charted at number 5 on the UK charts and number 146 on the Billboard Top 200. Of course, it's got Fool for Your Loving on it. Come On, Sweet Talker, Walking in the Shadow of the Blues. I mean, there's just a lot of great stuff here, recorded in several different places, which isn't necessarily my favorite type of live album. I like them I like the live albums when they're recorded in the theaters, more so than when they are at the stadiums. But this particular album just friggin' rocks, man. Put it on, listen to both sides, flip it over, and listen to it again. kind of rock.
That's a great live record, man. Whitesnake live, just awesome.
Now the next thing I was listening to here, of course, was a little bit of let's get some jazz flute going with some Jethro Tull and Bursting Out, the live album. 1978 live album by the rock band Jethro Tull. It was recorded at various locations all over Europe during the Heavy Horses tour in May and June of 1978. Though the specific recording dates and locations are not credited, the liner notes and the stage introductions indicate that at least some of the tracks were recorded in the Bern Festhalle in Switzerland. Switzerland, that's right, on the 25th of May, 1978.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's got Thick as a Brick in here, Cross-Eyed Mary, Aqualung, of course. Hey, Aqualung. Hey, honey, it's Jethro Tull. It's got Aqualung on it. Locomotive Breath. I mean, it's just all of it. All of it
Sitting
just
on a
rocks.
park bench, dun dun dun.
Exactly. You know, it was funny. A friend of mine, a young friend of mine, goes to the University of Berkeley at wherever that is in the Northeast. There, I guess Boston, the music school, not the crazy liberal school here in California. And they put out an original jazz piece with the flute player as one of the mainline players, and man, it just rocked. It's out there on the Berkeley website. You just search for jazz flute and it comes up. And those kids, it's just so good to see that they're really good young musicians making real original music still in the world, because all of this auto-tuned friggin' hip-hop crap is making me cry. Just making me cry. Speaking of things that make you cry, this makes you cry in a good way. Elton John, live in Australia with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, nice.
Dude,
nice choice.
Seriously. For an Elton John, it's a gatefold double album. It tells you just about everything you'd want to know about every song that was being presented in here. It was released 1987, the 26th official album from Elton John, so not exactly a fresh fish at that time. 60 years on, I need to turn to you, or I need you to turn to The Greatest Discovery, The King Must Die, Take Me to the Pilot, Tiny Dancer, Candle in the Wind, Burn Down the Mission, Your Song, and Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. I mean, seriously, dude, how can you go wrong with 14 tracks with the symphony orchestra? You can't.
No, you can't go wrong.
I have this one on FLAC. I mean, I love my album and I do pull it out and listen to it, but the FLAC file is just a little more convenient sometimes. But what's neat about the FLAC file is it literally is a needle drop FLAC. So I'm still listening to the vinyl, rendition of this album just in its digital form, because you can literally hear the needle like running around the record in the recording. It's that clear. It's very, very, very cool. And then finishing up for what I was listening here during the week. I don't know why I do it. It's not my favorite album at all, but The Doors, live at the Hollywood Bowl. There's a lot of good music on here. Was recorded July 5th, 1968, but not released until 1987. The full version of the concert was released also in October of 2012, available on LP as well in DVD format. But they play a lot of these songs. Wake Up, Light My Fire, The Unknown Soldier, Spanish Caravan. They play Light My Fire at the end of it again. But they're so stoned. They're so stoned that some of them aren't even recognizable. It's like Jim Morrison would get up there to sing, "Hey, my baby, hey, we're at a concert, fire." I mean, it's like he would have moments of clarity and just go right back out to whatever the hell he was on. Holy crap. Light My Fire went on for 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Yeah, it's a 3 minute and 24 second song. It went on for 8 minutes and 15 seconds because Jim kept getting lost. Jimmy, come on over here and sing this song, man. Jim, come back to the come to the stage, Jimmy. The stage, you're singing. The microphone. Yeah. Light My Fire is what you're singing.
You know, there are two versions of Light My Fire, studio versions, and there's one they played on the radio, and that's the 3-minute cut, which cuts out the long instrumental. But on the very first album, it's like 7 minutes and 20 seconds. But I know what you mean because I've heard that particular album multiple times. And I'll tell you this, we were just talking about that record a couple days ago when people were here. And I was talking to Tony, and well, I must admit, Tony is the fount of all knowledge on classic rock. And I've forgotten it. And I admit it. You know how I am, Jeff, with sometimes with titles and with names that a lot of times you'll fill in names and titles for me when I'm telling a story.
Right.
But he had told me that there was one live album by the Doors. That's one of the best live albums there is. It's fully coherent from beginning to end. And the next time I talk to Tony, which hopefully will be by this weekend, I will write it down so that I can tell you.
Because I'd like to pick it up. Yeah,
right.
I love
both Doors
albums,
fans. I don't have it either.
This is just horrible.
Yeah, that's what he said. He said it's so much better than that record.
Good farting on a snare drum, man. I mean, that 8 minutes and 15 seconds was not the instrumental version of Light My Fire.
No, I know.
They were trying to get Jim back to the stage every 4 minutes. It was crazy. And with that, I got to ask you, buddy. Let's go see who's out in the hangout here real quick. There's only a few people out there, so we'll say hello to them. Wid34 checking in with us this week. How you doing there, sir?
Awesome, Wid. Glad you're here.
Mr. Rod Dupree.
Always.
In a place to be.
Exactly.
There's Mr. Ken. One of these days, I'm going to get that out of my throat. Lance. Windsor. How you doing there, guys? Glad you were out joining us as well. So that's our three fans hanging out live with us, and that's okay. We do the show for the love of the show more than anything
we do it for quality over quantity.
That is right. Eventually we'll be discovered and we'll get millions of fans. Until then, this is what you get. Two guys talking crap. That's right. Hey, Ken, what did you bring along for your epic record this week?
Well, you know, I had to follow right in line, and I decided for the epic, let's just go right with the very first Porcupine Tree live DVD. This is being re-released on Blu-ray, and I can tell you that it comes from England. I had ordered it. Well, I read a little more about it, and there's actually nothing different about it. Even the transfer is the same. It's just going on Blu-ray. So, and it wasn't expensive, but you know, I just thought, well, this is one of those times when I can just go ahead and let's just say no. So I canceled it.
But it's the same bit rate. Yeah, but it's on Blu-ray. But it's the same show. It's the exact same quality. Yeah, but it's on Blu-ray, so I have to have it.
Yeah, I was gonna get it. I thought, okay, you know, cool. This looks and sounds. It's grainy on purpose. They made it that way on purpose. It's an artistic choice on this DVD. You know, there are parts where it looks like old footage from like the 40s or something, and you have lines going through it and whatever. So it's an artistic choice. It wasn't going to look spectacular no matter what, you know, format it was on, but I just thought, oh, it's like $15. Problem is, coming from England, you know, shipping, you're paying like another $10 to ship it or something. So I just said,
crazy,
well, let that go. The DVD is fine. And this was my introduction to live Porcupine Tree. This is the first time I saw the band live, was bringing this home, putting it in my DVD player. And like I said, even with the artistic enhancements, if you want to call it that they use here and there throughout the show, it is utterly amazing. It's from Chicago. It's from the Dead Wing tour. The Dead Wing album is the one that I'm currently waiting on. It's probably my favorite Porcupine Tree album. This is, like I said, their first live DVD from Chicago. And this was recorded in 2005, I believe. Absolutely amazing disc. And like I said, I got it, you know, right when it came out, and I had not seen the band live at that point. And when I put this on and watched it, already I was in love with the music, but seeing it live and seeing how well they played the music live, how well it was presented, the amazing drummer, Gavin Harrison, everything about it just basically blew my mind. Steven's an amazing front man. The way the bass lines are articulated perfectly into the music. He doesn't try to do too much. Colin Edwin, the bass player. Richard Barbieri, who came from the band Japan, along with other bands over to Porcupine Tree, and his very ambient, somewhat Pink Floyd-like fills basically are spaced perfectly on here. And this is a real highlight for me. I won't say it's better than the Anesthetized that I showed earlier, but it is the first one. It was the one that absolutely hooked me to this band, hook, line, and sinker. And so for that, that's why Porcupine Tree, and the name of it, which I should always make sure to tell, is Arriving Somewhere, but Not Here.
But not here. Can't get there from here.
So Arriving Somewhere, but Not Here. And that was my epic, I can't really call it a record, but let's just say music entertainment of the week. And so having said that, I have to ask you, Reverend Jeff, Ayatollah of rock and roll, and you're never going to shake that because you are the Ayatollah.
Rock and roller.
You are the man with the truth, sitting in the booth, feeding us what we need.
That's
and
right.
So I ask you, what was your epic record? And I bet it's live. What was your epic record for this week?
You know, I think I probably missed my calling to be the top 100 DJ somewhere in the country. However,
could have done it.
Epic record for the Reverend was WASP, Live and in the Raw and in your face. Oh my goodness, dude. 1987. The band Wasp, they didn't care. They had Satan symbols. They had devils on their covers. They sung about evil and hate. Actually, no, they didn't. But you know, that's what parents thought. Live in the Raw is the first live album by the group Wasp. Their fourth album overall, released in 1987. The album can be seen as something of a breakwater between the old Wasp, the first three albums, and the more mature sound in the releases that would follow. It's also the album that feature Harder, Faster, which is about the PMRC declaring them sexual perverts. Yeah, baby. The Manimal and Harder, Faster were written specifically for this album, and the studio song Screamin' Till You Like It was recorded for the movie Ghoulies 2. That's right. The acoustic version of Sleeping in the Fire is also a studio recording. This would be the final release to feature the drummer Steve Riley, who would leave the band shortly after the conclusion of the tour to join LA Guns.
LA Guns.
Yeah, see, there's, you know, the more and more we go through all this stuff, you know, I realize there's such a connection between all of these bands that I love. A drummer from here, a guitarist from there, a vocalist out of nowhere, all of a sudden make a great band. You know, and it's just strange to see how they all just kind of came and went and worked together, didn't work together, liked each other, didn't like each other, come together 20 years later, still don't like each other, you know, all in all. But to see that the drummer, you know, ran from here over to LA Guns, and then LA Guns split, of course, to become Guns N' Roses. It just, you know, it all plays in line. Wild Child was the big hit on this particular, on the live album, of course. 95 Nasty. That's right, bitches. Lawless Holmes was the singer on that one. 5 minutes and 11 seconds of just nasty. These guys really, by 1987, had the double kick drum down. I mean, that killer, it's almost like snare drum beats in your heart, but it's coming out of that kick drum just so fast that you don't really know how they do it. I mean, it almost seems impossible. The only other band that I know of that really kicked the drums as hard as they did, and people will laugh at me though, is Stryper. The drummer from Stryper, and God bless him, I don't know his name at the top of my head right now. I'd have to have an album out, unfortunately. That dude, again, with his feet, was as fast as he was with his hands, and that says a whole lot about a drummer. And saying a whole lot about a drummer, it's that time, my man. It's that sad going away. We tell people at Vinyl Power Podcast, that's how you can find us on Facebook. That'll link you to our YouTube, where you can subscribe and click the bell and come back next week where we talk about stuff. 4,000 hours and 1,000 subscribers. I guess that's what we're shooting for before next year sometime.
We're going to get there. We are on the way.
Hey, we've been doing well. People are watching the show, making comments and liking it. So share it far and wide. Share it on your Instagram. Share it on your Twitter. Share it on your grandma's. Share it to your grandma's retirement house, because we're talking about their kind of music. Maybe next week we'll replace Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters. We'll see. Thanks everybody for being here. Kurt, my man, thank you for the show, pal.
Thank you as always, Reverend Jeff. Awesome again.
See you guys next week.